Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Welcome back to another episode of She is Resilient. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is anger. And the reason I love this topic so much is because anger is one of those emotions that's really misunderstood. When most people think about anger, they think about outbursts, yelling, maybe even violence or aggression. But here's what I want to say right off the bat. Anger is not aggression. Anger isn't bad. It doesn't make you dangerous, dramatic, or out of control. And it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. What anger is communication. It's your nervous system's way of trying to speak to you, trying to protect you, to draw a boundary, to reclaim that space that's been crossed. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, Tatiana, that's not what my anger looks like, anger is dangerous, then that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So about 5 years ago, when I worked in community mental health, I used to run an anger management program, and back then I used to teach that anger was a secondary emotion, meaning that it's usually covering up something deeper like sadness, fear, or pain. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes we use anger to protect ourselves from feeling more vulnerable emotions underneath. But since I've started working through a nervous system lens, I've shifted that perspective. Because when someone is activated, when they're in a sympathetic state of activation, in fight or flight specifically, the fight state, anger is a primary emotion. So it's not necessarily masking something, it is the thing. It's the biological survival response that comes up when the body perceives a threat that it believes it can confront or challenge. So let's just pause there for a second and clarify the difference between a primary and secondary emotion. So a primary emotion is your immediate instinctive emotional response to something. For example, you feel anger in the moment because your boundary is crossed. A secondary emotion is an emotion that comes after the primary. So you might feel ashamed about your anger, or you might feel anxious about your anger, or anxious that your anger is going to come out. Or maybe you're just anxious because you're not used to feeling that anger. So sometimes anger is secondary, especially when people have a hard time accessing vulnerability. But anger can also be the primary response, especially in those of us who've learned to survive through the fight state. So the fight state gets activated when there's a real or perceived threat, right? Your nervous system goes into this sympathetic state of activation where fight or flight lives. And your body has to make a quick decision to fight the threat or flee from the threat. So if your nervous system believes that it's possible or necessary to confront that threat, aka to fight that threat, then it will. And this isn't a conscious decision at all because the nervous system is the unconscious, right? Your nervous system is making immediate reactions. So for example, if you grew up in an environment where your boundaries weren't honored, where you weren't heard, or maybe where you constantly had to advocate for yourself to survive, you may have developed a really strong fight response. And maybe that became your default. And so your nervous system is going to continue to respond with the fight state anytime that it unconsciously reminds it of the original perceived or actual threat. So some signs that you might be stuck in a fight state are feeling irritable or annoyed often, being defensive even when there's no clear threat, having a short fuse or snapping quickly, clenching your jaw, grinding your teeth, restlessness that feels hot or tight or explosive, anger that feels way bigger than the situation, thinking in extremes, so black and white, right or wrong, engaging in negative self-talk, being quick to judge others or judge yourself, being quick to blame others, feeling like you're always on guard, or feeling like you always have to protect yourself or that you can't trust anyone. So if any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And here's the thing, if you're a woman, chances are you've been taught to avoid anger at all costs, right? You've probably been conditioned directly or indirectly to be polite, agreeable, easy to be around, and to keep the peace. Maybe you've been told, don't make a scene, or just let it go. Be the bigger person. Or if you're Latina, you often heard the phrase, calladita te ves más bonita, right? You look prettier when you're quiet. That message really sticks. It teaches you that being liked is more important than being honest, and that being comfortable for others matters more than being true to yourself. So what do? We stuff our anger down, we disconnect from it, we start to feel guilty or even ashamed the moment it surfaces. And the more we do that, the more our nervous system either stays stuck in fight mode or completely shuts down into freeze or fawning, right? That people-pleasing state. But here's what I really want you to understand. Anger isn't bad. Anger does not equal aggression. Anger is what helps us speak up. It's what allows us to say no. It allows us to set boundaries and to protect what really matters. It's what fuels advocacy. It drives change, and it says, this isn't okay. So I like to think that anger is your friend, not your enemy. It's not something that you have to fear or suppress. It's just something that we have to learn how to be in relationship with, right? Just like any other emotion. Some people feel really comfortable with anger, and maybe they don't feel comfortable with sadness, right? Other people feel more comfortable with sadness and not necessarily anger. So we just need to learn how to access that healthy aggression. And healthy aggression is not the same as uncontrolled rage, right? Again, when people think about anger, they might think about rage, being out of control, aggression, yelling. But it's not about hurting someone else. It's about being clear, grounded, and assertive. It's about protecting your peace, using your voice, and holding boundaries from a regulated state. So some of the ways that you can express healthy aggression is by saying no without guilt, leaving a situation that's draining you, advocating for yourself clearly and firmly, channeling anger into movement like stomping, shaking, or punching a pillow, and raising your voice when needed, but staying connected to your body. This is one of the ways that we complete the fight response. It's not about staying in a fight. It's about moving through it and learning how to access it in a healthy way. And this is something that I help you with in somatic experiencing, but also what we really dive into more in Embodied Healing Collective. And I am so excited to share with you that the Embodied Healing Collective waitlist is opening in 1 month. It is opening up in September. So if anger is something that you really want to connect with and learn about and lean into in a really healthy way so that you can set those healthy boundaries and advocate for yourself and use your voice, then you may want to consider joining the Embodied Healing Collective waitlist. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that you can do to support your body when you're in the fight state. Hey there, if you're looking for daily somatic practices to add to your toolbox, I'd love to introduce you to my somatic bundle where I guide you through over 30 somatic tools and practices that support your nervous system by creating the safety that your nervous system requires to move out of survival mode. Just click the link in the show notes and you will get immediate access to my library of tools. See you there. So, number 1, you can push on a wall. So as you're pushing, allow yourself to push for 30 seconds, hold, feel that resistance in your hands, pause, let go, feel your arms, feel your hands, and then you can push for another 2 or 3 more times. And you can do this slowly, feel the sensations in your body. Number 2, you can practice Vu-As. So very similar to a Vu, you inhale and you do a Vu-Ah, really making sure that you're opening up the mouth and inviting slow movements into the jaw. Number 3, you can practice progressive muscle relaxation. So progressive muscle relaxation is when you tense and release every part of your body one by one. So starting with your toes, you squeeze, release, feel the sensations in your body, moving up to your calves, your thighs, your abdomen, your arms, your hands, your shoulders, your face, and then doing your entire body all together. Squeeze and release. And you want to do this slowly, right? Every time we're practicing any somatic tool or exercise, we always want to go slowly. And then just notice your body. And then just assess, notice, did anything shift in your body? And it's not really about getting rid of your anger. It's not about getting rid of any uncomfortable emotion or sensation in your body. It's really a way to support your body, to support your nervous system while you're in this fight state and allowing yourself to access that healthy aggression. And if you want more somatic tools or practices, you can find more practices that support you in that fight state in my somatic bundle. When we start to reclaim our anger, we also start to reclaim our power. We begin to move through the world with more clarity, with firmer boundaries, and with a nervous system that's not constantly bracing for impact. So if you've been afraid of your anger, or if you've been taught that it makes you bad or broken or too much, I hope that this episode gave you permission to see it a little bit differently. I promise you there's wisdom in your anger. There is power, healthy power, in your fight state. And there's healing in learning how to work with it and not against it. I hope you found so much value in this episode. If you did, I would love for you to share this episode with a friend or just leave a comment and let me know. Let me know if you found it helpful or if you want clarification on anything or if there's anything else you want me to address when it comes to leaning into healthy aggression. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast Or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at tatiana.holistic.coach. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.